Good afternoon, I'm Chief Meteorologist Sabrina. Meanwhile, here this morning we saw a trace of rain, a little bit of drizzle as the marine layer fairly thick. Right now it's backed off, but getting ready to push back in. Coming up, we'll talk about how that will affect our temperatures as we get a little bit closer into the weekend. You're watching CW6 News at 4. Cool, our forecast. Did you notice temperatures today were a little bit cooler to the skin? In Poway, 70 degrees there. Noticing your winds are out of the northwest. That northerly component continues to pull in some of that cooler air. We'll see our temperatures tomorrow maybe warm up about 1 to 2 degrees. It's not much. It's going to keep us fairly seasonal in some locations along the coast and further inland a little bit cooler than the norm. All of this as we still have this dip in the jet stream moving through that little trough, providing us with that onshore flow. It also provided us with a little bit of rainfall early this morning. Now tomorrow, a very weak ridge will start to build on in. And I say weak because remember, temperatures are not really going to nudge much. What they will do is try to clear out the marine layer a little bit earlier. So getting a little bit more sunshine for the next 2 days. But then by the time we get on into the weekend, we're looking at another storm to come down. And that should pretty much sock us into the cloud coverage and maybe even drop our temperatures some more with a little bit more precipitation. Hour by hour temperature wise at around 6 o'clock tonight. Looking at those clouds trying to roll back along the coastline into the mid to upper 60s, inland areas the upper 60s for you. Tomorrow morning, hazy skies, but this time no drizzle. Instead, just looking at about 49 in Ramona, 62 Del Mar. That's the same value for you out into downtown. By the afternoon, values here are going to go back into the 80s for El Cajon and Lakeside. Remember, they're just going to warm up by about 1 to 2 degrees. Not a lot, but getting a little bit more sunshine into the afternoon on Thursday, as well as on into Friday with your temperatures on into the lower 70s for the coast. Coming up, we talk more about weather are a little bit on the chillier side, and we're actually going to see more of the marine layer begin to move through. We're only going to have this pattern set up, though, for the next 2 days before even colder air comes down by the weekend. By 6 o'clock, though, the marine layer is starting to push a little bit closer to portions of I-15, beginning to thicken up, but not thick enough for any of the drizzle yet again. And seeing by about 6 o'clock in the morning when you start out tomorrow, continuing to drive through some of the overcast skies, but clearing a little bit earlier at about 9:30 now, portions of North County at the coast already dealing with sunshine. So temperatures are going to warm up slightly, still going to overall stay close to seasonal, maybe a tad below that until we get to the weekend. By 11 p.m., 65 degrees, and then tomorrow morning at 5 a.m., you're at about 63. Further inland, you'll start your day off also into the 50s at 58, but by 11 o'clock, already looking at the 70s. And if you have plans heading out to the Chargers game tomorrow, kickoff at about 5:25, looking at 70 degrees then. Coming up, we take a look at the cooler air in your forecast for the weekend. Jeff, maybe that extra weight keeps them a little bit warm, which is why you should also enjoy some sweets. Temperatures right now about 69 degrees into Oceanside, only around 70 into San Diego. So we're below normal. We are going to stay close to these values for about the next 2 days. The big difference is going to come over the weekend when we start to see a real cool down and introduce a 10% chance of rain. The dew points are into the 50s. Now that means it's fairly comfortable air mass. It's not as sticky as say when we're dealing with high humidities, but we'll notice our temperatures get close to the dew point over the evening hours, and that's an indication of some haze starting to form. And I don't think we'll see any of the dense fog, but nonetheless, fog is a possibility for us overall the evening tonight. Satellite radar across the country noticing a lot of rain coming down throughout the Great Lakes. Also noticing some of the cloud coverage there. They're actually dealing with a storm system that's bringing some much cooler air. Temperatures shaded in the dark blue there. Freeze warnings are up where it will fall into the upper 20s to low 30s for Des Moines, parts of Kansas City under a frost advisory in light blue, where it'll fall on into the mid 30s. For parts of Northern California, they're going to see a storm system not only bringing them wind but rain over the next 5 days. 25 inches of rain is possible in Northern California. We're just going to get a 10% chance of it over the weekend. So 7-day forecast, 74 degrees tomorrow, hazy start, inland areas 78. They'll say that they're looking at 96. Let's look at your 7-day forecast, guys. Over to you.
All right.